that out.
Yeah, and he's got that guy has a gun machine down there.
Just put the gun out.
But I just put it in. Yeah, put it on that.
Oh, you're gross, sir.
There we go.
So how are you doing with the cold? You getting over it?
Yeah, slowly. Dude, it started off terrible. Like, I could barely get off the couch.
I know, I saw you were
I was
pretty
cold
bad.
the whole time. I was just sitting there
Like a zombie.
Yeah, pretty much. Dude, if coughing gave you abs, I would have been ripped. Like, just coughing so much.
Oh, that's pretty
I can
good.
kind of feel it coming, too.
Okay. We ready?
Right, yeah.
Let's go. Alright, guys. Welcome back to Bursting Bookshelves.
Episode 6.
Episode 6. We're already on episode 6. 6, yeah. We're moving right along. Okay, so
Yeah.
when we left off on episode 5, we were following two young men in Rome. That was the name of the episode. In fact, this is the second part of that section. So two young men in Rome, part 2. Exactly. So they're Franz de Epinay and Albert de Morcerf, and they have met this guy named the Count of Monte Cristo,
Hey, I know that guy.
who, like, he's probably Edmond Dantes, if you've been
Probably,
following along. Yeah, is almost sure.
Franz is also a little certain that he
Yeah,
might
Franz
be
is
Sinbad,
suspicious
too.
of this guy.
Mhm.
He doesn't quite trust him. And they're at the
No.
carnival. They're at a big party
Yeah.
kind of thing in Rome.
Albert trying to get in a relationship.
Yeah, so
Poor
Albert
guy.
is looking for
Really
love.
wants a date.
So he leaves Albert to follow a particularly attractive clown.
Hmm.
So after
Wait,
this
no,
is
he
chapter
leaves
37. What?
Albert leaves Franz.
Yeah, Albert
Yeah.
leaves Franz. So in chapter 37, Albert leaves Franz and to
Mhm.
pursue his romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Franz goes to a fancy ball,
Hmm.
and where the guests express concern that Albert is out on the streets so late at night. So in the middle of the discussion, a messenger comes to say that someone is waiting back at the hotel with a letter from Albert to Franz. Albert leaves the ball and goes to the hotel, reads the letter, which is indeed from Albert. It states that he has been abducted by Luigi Vampa. If you remember,
I knew
he
that guy
was
was
the
coming
he
back
was the
into play.
bandit. This is
I knew something
yeah.
was gonna. I knew that guy had something.
Yep.
That was.
And his
come back
crew-
into play for him.
There's a ransom, large sum of money
Yeah.
must be paid to them, or else they will shoot Albert. Franz goes to the Count of Monte Cristo to see if he can borrow some money, and also because he knows that the Count of Monte Cristo has some connections to Vampa because he saw them together.
Yeah.
So he goes to the Count. He talks to the Count. The Count says, "You don't have to
Yeah,
pay any
sure.
money. You just follow me. I'll take care of this."
I got this, man.
So the Count and Franz leave together in the Count's carriage, and they go to the catacombs of Saint Sebastian,
Mhm.
which is outside of the city.
It's a church, right?
No,
No.
this is like a
Graveyard.
bunch of tunnel, yeah, underground graveyard. It's pretty cool. Anyway,
And
so they go into the catacombs. They meet with Vampa
Uh-huh.
at the catacombs, and the bandit agrees to set Albert free immediately. Like, there's no question. He sees Monte Cristo, and he's like bowing
He's like, I
obsequiously,
don't.
and
I don't
he's-
wanna
he's
get in
all
trouble
scared.
with that guy. He's like, no.
yeah,
That guy knows all the ways of torture. Ah.
yeah. So they rouse Albert from a peaceful slumber. He was
Gets abducted, and he's just like,
yeah.
nap time. Don't wake me up. No.
He thanks the Count and shakes his hand, and the Count is barely able to shake his hand.
Just like,
Yeah, because remember, this is Mercedes' son. Then he and
A hand
Franz
shaking like a
go
leaf.
back to the ball to finish out the night. So, these two guys aren't fazed by much. So,
yeah.
chapter 38.
Hot
The
dog.
next morning, Franz and Albert go to visit the Count and thank him for his services to them. Albert puts himself and all those he has influence on over in the Count's service. So this guy, we talked about Albert already, so he's a little bit flamboyant.
Mm-hmm.
The Count expresses his gratitude and then asks if Albert would introduce him to Parisian society. So the Count says he's never been to Paris and he's going to go to Paris. And so he wants someone to introduce him.
Yeah.
So he asks Albert to do it.
Albert's like, I got you.
Yeah, he's really excited about that.
He's like, please pick me.
Yeah. So Albert's like, yeah. But
Albert's
Franz
thinking.
later, privately, he talks to Albert. He's like, man, I just don't trust that guy. What are you doing? Why you shouldn't trust him?
Mhm.
But Albert's like, nah.
He's like,
it's
oh,
okay.
Franz, you're
Yeah.
being paranoid. You just sad you got kidnapped that one time.
No, Franz didn't get kidnapped. Albert did.
Franz got invited, right? Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
He got invited. I thought he was kidnapped for some reason.
No, he wasn't really. Yeah. The next day, Albert leaves for Paris. Franz leaves to continue his extended stay in Italy for a year, he
Yeah,
says.
he was on a visit in the high points of Italy somewhere.
All right, so almost exactly 3 months after the contents of the last chapter, Albert de Morcerf is in his house, which is...
Oh, this is chapter 39 now?
Yeah, this is chapter 39. Sorry,
yeah.
didn't say that. It's a luxuriantly furnished home adjacent to his parents' extensive mansion. It's a small house, but it's pretty rich.
So they've arrived in Paris and they're at...
Albert's this is just Albert, this is just Albert. Franz isn't there, the Count's not there.
Okay. He's preparing.
So Albert had invited the Count to be at his house exactly 3 months from the time that they last spoke. Exactly 3 months. So it's approaching the exact time, and he's going to host him for breakfast.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's going to host Count of Monte Cristo, as I just said, as well as a few of his friends. The friends arrive first before the Count. One of them brings his own friend, a soldier named Maximilian Morel.
Hey, I know that name too.
You know that name because this is the son of Dante's former employer,
This is the guy that...
Monsieur Morel.
Yeah. That's the guy that was like, whatever, Dad.
Yeah, you can kill yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if you really
so
want
he's an honorable dude, but he's pretty nice. There's good imagery all around him. There's all sorts of good things.
I wonder if he would have met Fernand since they're both soldiers.
I don't know. Fernand at this point we'll get into him a little bit, but Fernand is like a politician. He's in politics.
Right,
now.
He's at the politics stage.
Yeah, he's not a soldier.
He's higher now.
Yep.
He's retired.
He's a retired soldier. Yeah, so there's a good deal of banter between them. It's a pretty fun passage. I like that passage. There's a lot of the friends in Albert.
Oh,
there's a lot of there's almost they make fun of each other because there's a politician and there's a journalist and there's a nobleman.
Soldier.
Yeah, there's also a soldier, but he's not really part of that because he's not really close in the close friend group.
Maximilian seems like he kind of stayed back.
Well, yeah, he's new to the friend group, so of course he stayed back a little bit.
Okay, so he's like the newest addition.
Yeah, so Albert tells his friends about his experience with the Italian bandits. They laugh at him. They don't believe in Italian bandits. Yeah, idiot.
They're like, of course it would be you.
So the further he goes with the story, the more they laugh.
Yeah.
So they think he's a loon.
So, I mean, like, it's Albert.
Yeah, it's Albert. Of course he's going to say that. So they don't even believe in the Count's existence until 10:30, which is the agreed upon time.
Right.
Exactly 10:30.
Doing.
And when the Count of Monte Cristo is announced, he walks in at 10:30.
He's just kind of like, hi.
Yep. He makes a grand entrance and is introduced to all. And side note, his facade falls apart slightly when he sees that Maximilian is there because he knows Maximilian.
He's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I know you.
Guy.
So they sit down to breakfast.
You're the guy that I sent the letter to.
No, it's his sister.
That's close.
All right, so chapter 40. Albert and his three friends, Maximilian Morel and the Count of Monte Cristo, all sit down to breakfast.
Okay.
The Count modestly tells his audience his side of the story about saving Albert. He's pretty modest about it, and they're like,
"Wait a minute, that story was real." I thought it was Albert being.
And I don't even know if they completely believe him then, but Albert says, "Go talk to Franz. Franz will tell you it's true." Because apparently they trust Franz.
But Franz is still in
Franz is still in Italy, so they can't talk to him, so they have to send him a letter.
So they're like, yeah, of course you would.
So the Count tells him a little bit about himself, his habits, etc.
Yeah.
And he presents an interesting case for utter self-centeredness. Yeah. So when asked why, when he obviously had so much influence over the bandits, he did not command them to abandon their evil ways, this was his reply.
He answers, perhaps what I'm about to say will appear strange to you gentlemen, socialists, progressives, humanitarians, as you are, but I never worry about my neighbor. I never try to protect society which does not protect me. Indeed, I might add, which genuinely takes no heed of me except to do me harm. And since I told them low in my esteem and remain neutral towards them, I might believe that society and my neighbor are in my debt. Alas, Chateau Renaud.
Chateau Renaud.
Right, Chateau Renaud. One of Albert's friends exclaimed, "Here is the first brave man whom I have heard frankly and unashamedly preaching egoism. This is excellent. Bravo, Monsieur Conte." Bravo.
Right. Yeah. So
he was really happy about that.
so that logic there.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that I disagree with the Count's logic. Personally, I
Of
do
how
not. I
he
do not
doesn't-
believe that intrinsically society and my neighbors are in my debt. So, but that's just I found that an interesting passage. So, it's a window into what the Count thinks, what
He
the Count
doesn't-
thinks about the world. He doesn't.
He doesn't
He
like
considers himself
society.
above everybody. He's
Yeah.
not. He's indebted to no man.
Yeah, he says he holds them in the low esteem and remain neutral
Yeah.
towards them.
So
Society, he doesn't like society unless it likes him, basically.
yeah. So he did help Albert though.
Yeah,
But
well,
that was in himself. That was in his own
that was-
interest
yeah,
because
that
he
was
needed
probably.
he has plans yet.
He might have
Plans.
actually. I have a theory that he might have actually talked Louis G. Fanbot into abducting Albert. More on that later, but let's keep going.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. So there's a good deal of astonishment in general among Albert's friends, not least Maximilian, when the Count
Except that
reveals
one guy.
that one of his bankers. Wait, hold on. This
Right,
is
sorry.
important. Yeah, one of his bankers, one of the Count's bankers, is Thomson and French in Rome. So do you remember Thomson and French?
Yeah.
They were the bankers that the Englishman who saved the Morels referred to. He said that he worked for them.
Yeah.
But
Maximilian's like, hey, I know that guy.
yeah, but Max says here that Thomson and French, they reached out to them or something
Mm-hmm.
to thank them, and they denied ever doing this. So it's kind of odd. All right, so then they go on to discuss where the Count should live while in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a fine suggestion, including Maximilian. He suggests that the Count should live with him, his sister, and his sister's husband at their house. So we'll see
That'd
that.
be
We'll
awkward.
see them a little bit. So their names are Julie and Emmanuel Arbeau.
Arbo?
Arbeau.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
So, but
That'd be
the Count
awkward.
says that he is already. Yeah, that would be. That'd be
He's like, I'm already engaged. I've already got stays.
But anyway, the Count
House.
announces that he already
Stays.
has bought a house in Paris. In fact, he sent his slave. He has slaves, I guess. He sent his slave in front of him,
I
a
don't think
slave
he was
named
abolished
Ali,
yet.
to in front of him to buy a house for him. So he
Mhm.
apparently he trusted this man to know his wants and interests and needs.
Mhm.
Soon the friends leave, and Albert and the Count are left alone at the table. So that's chapter
Awkward.
40. No, they're friends. They like each other. At least
Yeah.
Albert likes the Count.
The Count's a little.
Yeah, the Count's a
Awkward
little
boredom.
chilly sometimes.
He's a little like.
So chapter 41.
Mhm.
Albert shows the Count around his small but luxuriantly furnished apartments, and he is repeatedly amazed by the Count's extensive knowledge on a variety of subjects.
Mhm.
So he was expecting to tell the Count about his pieces of art and such, but the Count actually was instructing him on about all these things.
He was like, hey, I know that.
Yeah.
And that. And that. And that one as well. I don't know that one.
So Albert takes the Count into the main house to meet his parents, and if you remember, his parents are Fernand and Mercedes. So
Yeah.
he quote unquote introduces the Count to his father,
Yeah.
the Count de Morcerf, who is Fernand. So there's an extremely cordial interview in which the Count repeatedly butters Morcerf up. He makes a bunch of compliments, kind of sly compliments.
Yeah.
So then the Countess de Morcerf, that would be Mercedes. So this would be the Count's past fiancée, Mercedes,
Well,
enters the room.
Dante's his past fiance.
but also the Count. The Count and
yeah.
Dante are the same thing.
Yeah. I guess he would think of it as that's Dante's thing. I'm the Count of.
Yeah, he's kind of
Christo
switched
don't
identities a little
Yeah.
bit. So both she and the Count are very, very pale when they regard one another. The Count de Morcerf, who has
What
none
is
of the
she?
inklings that his wife has,
Uh-huh.
so Mercedes, she
Recognizes
might
him a little
recognize him, or she's trying to place him.
bit. Yeah.
So
Well-
Morcerf bids farewell and leaves for his job in the government. Do you have something to say?
I'll say it later.
Okay.
Don't want to go down a rabbit hole.
So moments later, the Count also leaves, promising to host Albert at his own house once he has arranged his lodgings.
Yeah.
So after Monte Cristo leaves, Mercedes grills her son about what he thinks of the Count. She also asks what Albert thinks his age is. Albert has deduced that the Count's age is 35 or 36. I'm
pretty
thinking that's a
close.
little bit off.
He's pretty close.
Oh, but he'd been traveling the world for some time after he got out of prison.
Yeah, but not that.
He was 33 when he got out of prison, if I remember
Yeah, so
correctly.
35 or 36. That's pretty close.
So is it only 2 years?
I mean,
I think the dates make him closer to 40, 42. I could look at that. I'll come back in episode 7 and tell you guys.
Don't want to go down too much of a rabbit trail. For
Yeah.
instance.
So let's keep moving. That's chapter 41.
Yeah.
Chapter 42. This chapter is pretty much just a demonstration of the Count's impeccable table and astonishing eccentricity. Well, table, I think I meant to say servants. He has some pretty amazing servants.
Household?
Yeah, his household.
Okay.
So Monte Cristo arrives at his house, which is a wonderful mansion on Champs-Élysées. Champs-Élysées? I think I'm saying that right. I think that's
Champs-Élysées?
Champs-Élysées? Yeah. He knows it. Man.
It's a song that I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of surprised I knew that one, though.
Champs-Élysées. Man, I should have known that. Anyway. So apparently that's a famous street. So that's where his house is.
Yeah.
So a notary is waiting there for him to sign off, for the Count to sign off on a purchase of a house in the country, which is, it's not really the country. It's mostly more like a neighborhood of Paris. It's in a neighborhood called Auteuil. So at the mention of Auteuil, his servant, who is a Corsican. Corsica is an island in the Mediterranean, which is currently a territory of France. This guy's name is Bertuccio, which is a fun name, I think.
That is a fun name.
Yeah, it is a fun name. Bertuccio.
Oh,
so his steward is visibly startled and frightened. So this name, actually, I think it's Auteuil, not Auteuil. Auteuil. This name frightens him. So after both the notary and Bertuccio leave, the Count compares the address of his new house with the address that he carries with him in his wallet. So he knows something about this house. It's not just he saw this one and bought it. This house in Auteuil is important to him beyond just being a house.
Okay.
So Bertuccio enters again and expresses horror at having to go to the house at Auteuil.
Okay.
When the Count commands him to go with him there.
Yeah.
To see it, because he's never seen it before. The Count hasn't. So Bertuccio eventually complies with the Count's imperiousness. The Count puts up a big show of being all astonished that Bertuccio won't do his command. So they leave in the carriage.
Bertuccio is one of his servants?
Yeah, Bertuccio is his steward. So that'd be one of his stewards.
The guy that
servants.
keeps his
household in order. I don't know, does things for him. Okay, that's chapter 42.
Basically a butler.
Yeah, but he also has a butler.
That's confusing.
I know. I don't pretend to understand.
Where my servanthood ends.
We're 21st century kids. We're not big on having servants. All right, chapter 43.
Yeah.
So the Count and Bertuccio go to the Count's house in Auteuil. I'm saying that right. And Bertuccio is acting very guilty the whole way there. And once they get there as well, especially when the Count learns that the house's previous owner was the Marquis de Saint-Méran. Remember, this was Villefort's father-in-law. So there's all sorts of little connecting back bits about this story where you think you're done with a character, and it's like, oh man, there he is again. It's like, so we're starting up on something brand new here. There's a whole new storyline that we're about to turn over the rock and just see a bunch of worms crawl out.
One of these chapters, it completely switches and you're like, what's happening?
Yeah, it's gonna get crazy in a second.
Yeah.
So they begin to inspect the house and go out into the garden, with Bertuccio becoming more and more terror-stricken the closer the more they go. So he says odd things about him committing a murder there once for revenge.
What?
Finally, the Count threatens to fire him, if he does not explain what he is talking about. So Bertuccio begins and agrees, and he begins to tell a tale.
Ooh, I like tales.
Yeah. This is something. So that's the end of chapter 43. Chapter 44 is part of the tale.
Yeah.
So Bertuccio tells of how, many years ago, his brother, who was a soldier in Napoleon's army, was murdered for being a Bonapartist, and that the crown prosecutor of the town, Monsieur Villefort, so the town was actually not Marseille. It was Villefort had moved to a different post since his encounter with Dantes.
Obviously.
So Monsieur Villefort refused to search for the murderers because the victim was a Bonapartist, and further simply because he just did not care. Like, he's not only is he corrupt, so he doesn't care about finding murderers.
Yeah.
But he expresses just complete contempt. You just get out of here, bro. You're not important. I don't care about you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what he says. And Bertuccio declares a vendetta against him.
Yeah.
So the dictionary defines a vendetta as, quote, a blood feud in which the family of a murdered person seeks vengeance on the murderer or the murderer's family. So I suppose this might not be either a... So apparently Bertuccio is saying that he is blaming Villefort for his brother's murder.
Yeah.
If that definition is true. Mm-hmm. So Bertuccio says he's going to kill Villefort pretty much, and that scares Villefort a lot. So Bertuccio tracks him for months until he finally finds out that Villefort is carrying on an extensive affair with a mysterious woman called the Baroness in the very house that the Count just purchased. Oh. Yeah. Oh. So he catches Villefort in the garden one night, so he hides in a bush and waits for Villefort to come out.
Oh yeah, he's gonna stab him or something.
Well, he does. He jumps out and stabs him, but before he does that, he sees that Villefort is carrying a baby, like a newborn. Damn. And Villefort buries the baby, digs a hole and puts the baby in the hole and covers the baby up.
In a box or something, and he puts it in the ground. I remember reading that chapter and being so confused.
That's a weird chapter.
What is going on? Just starts off with this guy how to get a bush. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. So, yeah, but he does confusing. After Villefort buries the child, Bertuccio jumps out and stabs him.
Duh, got him.
Yeah.
But then does he do anything with the baby? Or
he digs the baby up.
Okay.
And the baby is actually not dead. It's pretty blue, I think, but he's not dead.
A little suffocated almost. Yeah.
So later, he and the wife of his deceased brother, so that would be his sister-in-law, they adopt the little boy, it's a boy, as their own, and they name him Benedetto.
So he kind of cares for his brother's wife as his own, kind of.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, he was the reason. Yeah, he was a smuggler.
Yeah, because
and so he was trying to care for his sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this little boy named Benedetto that they adopt, he's a terror. He's a terrible person as he grows up. Not least because his adopted mother pampers and spoils him all over the place. He's a brat.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, Bertuccio decides to sign him, his adopted son, to the crew of a ship. Before he can do this, though, he is a smuggler by trade, and so he is forced to abandon a ship that is in harbor and is about to be searched, and because it has all sorts of smuggled goods on it. So he gets into the water and swims away.
Uh-huh.
So he escapes to the inn of a man named Gaspar Caderousse.
What?
We're here again.
It's all coming back.
Oh man. So this guy Caderousse has helped the smugglers in the past.
Yeah, okay.
And so there's a little antechamber outside of the inn with peepholes, and that's where Bertuccio waits to see if it's safe for him to come in. But what he's watching is Caderousse and his wife and a jeweler sitting at the table haggling over the price of a diamond.
They're still fighting over that diamond.
No. This was just after the priest came and gave the diamond.
Oh, okay.
So this was years ago.
Wow. Okay. So
he's watching them trying to sell the diamond.
Yeah, he just saw the baby die. Or no, he just saw the guy try to bury the baby, stab him with it.
Yeah, this was
years ago.
Benedetto would have been maybe 10 or 8 or 9 or something. So it was years later. So the jeweler, he watches as the jeweler and the Caderousses come to a deal. And importantly, because of the nasty weather, the jeweler has to stay the night at the inn with the diamond that he just took from Caderousse and with Caderousse having the money.
Okay.
And it appears that Mrs. Caderousse, his wife, is getting a very nasty idea at the end of the chapter.
That's awkward.
That's kind of how the chapter ends.
What is the idea, though?
Well, we're going to see.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the end of chapter 44. On to chapter 45. So Bertuccio continues his story to the Count, and he tells him that the Caderousses attack the jeweler in the night.
Stab.
Yeah.
Now
so the jeweler actually had some pistols, and so he fired them.
Pew pew.
The wife is killed. but the jeweler is stabbed and also is killed eventually.
Yeah.
He
Bertuccio's
stays alive a little
watching it,
longer.
right? Or is it his...
Well, Bertuccio, he fell asleep, and so he heard what was happening up there. So he rushes out and sees this whole scene. And since he was right under the stairs, and so there was blood dripping down on him, so he's covered in blood.
Right,
so when the police arrive, they arrest him as the murderer.
Yeah.
Because he was the only one there, and he had blood all over him. So because Caderousse's wife and the jeweler were both dead. Caderousse got away with the goods, the diamond, and the money.
And then,
I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so
he actually... Oh, that's interesting.
So the person who gets Bertuccio out of prison eventually, because he gets out of prison, is a man named Abbé Busoni. So
hey, I know that.
So
guy.
So Abbé Busoni, it didn't mention his name. I don't think that name Busoni.
Yeah.
When he visited Caderousse, but this is the same priest that gave the diamond to Caderousse. I don't know if the name was come up with a little bit later.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dumas did that but yeah. But Abbé Busoni convinces them to let Bertuccio free by telling them the true story, and they also do catch Caderousse, and they catch him and sentence him to the galleys.
Oh, man,
he's going to be rowing for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Isn't it that weird thing where it's like you got your hands here in your head, and it's like 2 points of wood that get the holes?
Well, you're rowing. I think you're rowing big ships.
Ooh.
Okay, so
that's worse.
Bertuccio confesses his previous murder. So he didn't really murder at the end, but he did murder.
Attempted murder.
He attempted to murder Villefort. So he confesses this to Abbé Busoni, and Abbé Busoni gives him a letter of recommendation to the Count of Monte Cristo, which they're the same person. So he basically gave him a letter of recommendation to himself.
That's hilarious.
But so a side note. After Bertuccio left, Benedetto, he tortured his adopted mother to try to get her to tell him where the family's money was, and he ended up burning her to death.
Oh, right.
And then he flees. And so Bertuccio, he learns this after he gets out of prison, and he's mad. He never wants to see Benedetto again. He hopes he's dead.
Yeah.
So the Count says in reply to this that God often uses misdoers for revenge before giving them their just punishment. And so here the Count is assuming that, of course, that God always gives sinners their punishment here on earth. Well, I don't really agree with that personally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he always punishes the wicked, but it may not be in this life. But anyway, that's the end of chapter 45.
I mean, in a sense, kind of.
Yeah, so it's not based on. Yeah, we'll not get into theology right now. All right,
save that for later.
Yep, chapter 46, end of chapter 45. So we've already been introduced to one of the enemies, Fernand. Now we're going to be introduced to the second one.
All right.
So the banker Baron Danglars comes to visit the Count, who pretends not to be at home, but watches him from a window and, seeing that his horses are very fine, orders Bertuccio to find a way to buy them at whatever price necessary.
Right.
So he tells them to buy them for like double what they're worth or whatever.
Yeah. He gets like way too much money for those horses.
Yeah. So Bertuccio goes out and does that. The Count then goes and visits Danglars, who is incredulous at having received a letter from the bankers of Thompson and French. You know, these are the Count's bankers.
Yeah.
Opening a line of unlimited credit with Danglars for the Count. So this means that the Count could withdraw as much money from Danglars as he wanted, which is, it's kind of mind-boggling. And Danglars does not like it very much, but the Count insults him into letting him have it. So he pretty much just he makes some snide comments. The Count pretty much just bludgeons him into letting him have the line of unlimited credit by making some snide remarks about about how rich Danglars was and actually how not rich Danglars was. Yeah. So he asks. So the Count says that he will be needing 6 million francs over the next year, which blows Danglars' mind, his tiny little mind. No. And he takes 500,000 francs right then.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that what he used to pay for the horse, though?
Well, yeah, he is throwing money around at this point. The Count is.
Yeah. It's flaunting how rich he is at
Yeah.
Danglars.
So
Look at
Danglars then takes him
Look at
to meet the Baroness, his wife, because, as he puts it, anyone who's borrowing this much money from me might as well be part of the family.
Oh, right, yeah.
So he's
It's awkward.
yeah. So he is pretty astonished by the Count. So that's chapter 46. Now on to chapter 47. So the Count, led by Danglars, goes to see Madame Danglars, the Baroness. During the visit, I should mention first that the relationship between Monsieur and Madame Danglars is less than ideal because they just fight all the time, and also Madame Danglars is with another man when they come to see her.
Right.
See her.
Yeah.
So this is actually one of
She's
Albert's
like-
friends, Lucien Debray.
Yeah.
Was at the breakfast. So she is apparently
She's like
talking to
having an
him or
affair with
something.
that guy or something.
All right. So during the visit, Madame Danglars finds out that her husband sold her favorite horses at an exorbitant price to a madman, as Danglars puts it, because he doesn't know that the Count was the one who bought the horses.
His Bertuccio. And he was
Yeah,
like,
Bertucci. He thought that this guy was a madman.
heard about his son and was like, no, I don't want no part of that.
Oh man. Okay.
All right. Anyways.
So Monte Cristo pretends to realize his mistake, although he probably hoped for it, or at least planned for it. He probably planned for it. Yeah, he hoped for it, or yeah.
He's planning that one for like 3 weeks.
And so he returns the horses pretty much. He even sends some diamonds along with them to sweeten the pot. So the next day, the Count is at his house in Auteuil. This is the Villefort murder house. But we're going to find that Villefort actually did not get murdered.
Yeah.
He's still alive.
He sends the horses back with Ollie, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
mute one?
So how happens when he tells his deaf and dumb servant, Ollie, it's A-L-I, not O-L-L-I-E, for those who are going to wonder about that.
Yeah, it's like the...
It's like he's an
it's
African.
like Muhammad Ali.
That sort of thing.
That's how you'd spell it, yeah.
So this Ali person is a very skilled, apparently, because he is told to wait in the road and stop those same horses that Monte Cristo returned to Madame Danglars,
Right.
and they're going to be charging uncontrolled down the road. The Count knows this somehow.
Yeah.
So they're going to be pulling a carriage.
She's
They're
in
charging
the
down the
carriage,
road.
right?
Well, someone else is in the carriage. We'll get to that. So Ali goes and sits in the road with his lasso.
Okay.
His lasso. Yeah.
Cowboy
And he sits
in
there and
the
he
back.
waits, and there, sure enough, there come the horses.
Just like...
Yeah, and he gets up and he lassos the horses, and he brings them to a standstill. And in the carriage behind them, because they were just charging along wildly, uncontrolled. In the carriage behind them is Madame Villefort and her young
That's
son.
awkward.
Well, it's not
Sorry,
really, because the
whoops.
Count, she is very, very, very thankful to the Count for having
Oh,
his slave save her and her
That's who it
son,
was.
Edouard.
Yeah.
Her son is named Edouard.
She kept trying to like talk to him or something. It was hilarious.
Yeah. So the Count carries her into his house, and they have a little interview, a little talk. And then,
About poison.
yeah, they talk about poison.
It's just like, thanks for saving my life. Anyways, do you know any poisons?
Yeah,
Right
that's kind of, yeah, we'll see more about that.
Yeah.
So she's very thankful to the Count, but not Edouard, her son. Her, like, he's maybe 7 or 8 or 9. I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah, I like that.
He is,
It's funny.
when asked to thank Ali for saving them, he replies that he won't because Ali is too ugly, and Ali is Ali is pretty
Boom,
he's pretty offended. Ali is mortally wounded, it says.
Yeah, but how would he know? He's deaf.
Well, no,
and
so the
he
Count
can't
repeated. The Count translated
speak, like
for him.
sign language or whatever.
No, he repeated in Arabic because he can hear.
Well, I thought he was deaf.
Wait, I might have wrote that down. He was mute. At least.
Ah, he was mute. Okay, so he didn't.
I don't think that he was deaf though. I'm sorry, I might have misspoken there.
Well, okay, that makes sense. I was about to say, how would he understand that? Because I remember. Oh yeah, he's mute. He can't talk.
Yeah, he cannot talk.
That's what Franz remembered.
Mhm.
When he
Yeah,
saw,
I was wrong.
When he saw the Count again, he remembered his servant who couldn't talk. He was like, "Wait a minute,
Oh yeah,
I
so
met that guy."
Madame Villefort decides that she wants to learn to know the Count better, probably to learn about poison.
So that one poison you're
Yeah.
talking about. More about that
Yeah.
one.
All right, so we did 10 chapters today.
Hot
Actually,
dog.
Actually, I think we did 11 if we counted chapter 37. We did
Oh
11.
yeah, right.
We did
We
11.
ended on what 40,
47.
47?
37 to 47. But we did
That's pretty
47 too. Yeah. So now we're going to talk about the
Characters.
characters and
Development.
any themes in the story that we can think of that are part of the overarching plot. So personally, the overarching plot, I would say right now has been betrayal in the first section.
Yeah.
With Danglars and Villefort betraying Dantes.
Obviously.
Big, just like complete and utter betrayal. Dantes did not deserve this in any way.
Absolutely not.
And then this second part has been the developing of a gigantic revenge scheme.
Dude,
We're gonna see it start to take fruition. We've already seen how it's already working because already Monte Cristo has endeared himself to Madame Danglars by returning the horses immediately, and thus he might have a back door to try to get it at her husband.
Yeah, but I've also heard it also seemed like she was also referred to as the Baroness by the guy, and I was curious.
Baroness,
same Baroness as Villefort.
Well, we won't spoil anything because we
me.
never spoil anything here.
Absolutely
No.
not.
We are very proprietary.
No, I actually can't remember if it was that one or if it was somebody else.
It was.
There's like 5 different families that come in at the end.
Yeah, we're
It's
gonna.
so confusing to keep all together.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about Dantes a little bit. So he has a great many very respectful connections. I'm harkening back to Luigi Vampa.
Yeah, not too respectful.
Yeah, they're no, they are very respectful. They immediately
to him, yeah,
they're not very respectful to everyone. Yeah, so he also cannot quite appear to get a grip on Albert's existence because he just is like a little bit.
Yeah, how does that work? They got married after he was in prison, and he was only in prison for 14 years. That if he traveled for 2 years,
he traveled for more than 2 years.
Like,
Albert's like probably in his 20s, so he traveled for more than 2 years. So I think Albert was a little wrong in his estimation of the age.
Yeah, so Edmund, I'm going to say Edmund's probably 38
or 40 or 40.
That.
I think
30.
I could add the dates up. I'll add the dates up and tell you.
I think 38 makes the most sense because if he's in the thing for 14 years, then he's traveling for about 4 years. That he gets out when he's 32, 33, 32, 33.
Mm-hmm.
So he's traveling for 4 years. That puts him at 36 or 37.
Yeah.
So he's about 38 now. And so Albert would be...
Well, he's 20, 21 in range. Yeah. Okay. Close to the same age that Dantes was at the beginning of the story.
So he's still very young.
So Dante's plans at the beginning of this section, they're kind of coming into fruition. He's pulling his strings in Paris now, where all 3 of his enemies are, and he's starting to use Albert to try to introduce him, and he's getting to know people.
Uh-huh.
So he's very eccentric and worldly since his time in prison. We've talked about this. The switch between from one to the other, from Dantes to the Count, is just absolutely dramatic and drastic.
Immediate.
So he's a cold, hard, egotistical person now.
It's pretty crazy how quickly he shifted too. Like when he was with Cataruz, he was breaking a little bit. Same with Morel, he broke a little bit in character. But now, as soon as he's onto the revenge, it's just
he broke a little bit with Mercedes.
I guess he went a little pale.
Yeah,
they both did though, so it kind of made a little bit more sense.
All right,
imagine being someone else in that situation.
What do you mean?
Them two both just like
staring at each other.
And
like,
Albert and Fernand are like, "What's happening?"
Well, Fernand didn't realize it. I don't think Albert did either.
Yeah, Fernand was probably just like, "Yeah, whatever."
Yeah, a little bit of a dunce.
all that time trying to woo it. Finally got her, and now he doesn't care.
So when he meets the Count de Morcerf, he is trying to get on his good side, and so he seems to recognize that Mercedes recognizes him. It's because Mercedes seems to do that.
Yeah.
So, in case we didn't make that clear enough, the Count is Abbe Busoni. So we have Abbe Busoni, Dantes, Count, Sinbad the Sailor, and this English guy from Thompson and French.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are his aliases at this point.
So far. He has another one, right? That hasn't come out yet.
Oh, we think.
There's another one, I think. I might be wrong.
We'll keep you posted. All right. So because he's Abbe Busoni, that means that he knew Bertuccio's story.
On accident.
No, he knew it before he bought the house at Auteuil. Auteuil. Yeah, Auteuil. Yeah.
Don't worry, I'd make it.
Auteuil. He knew that story. That's why he bought that house. That's why he had that address. He was the one who got Bertuccio to confess to because he was after
Yeah,
Busoni.
that's true. Yeah, I remember that in the book that I was reading. They make it to where there's a priest that keeps going to this house, and everybody's like, "What is up with that guy? Why does he keep going to that house?" But he was like part of. He would go there and he would check all the progress of their building. They were building.
Is this in this book? In this book?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were
we're
building
gonna
something in the house.
get there. Probably it's gonna be
Is that later?
It's
Did
gonna
I spoil it? Oh no!
yeah, that's later.
Whoops! You didn't hear that.
Yeah. All right. So Dante is very shrewd, and he knows how to
Yeah.
put up a facade and make either stabs or compliments to his
Steps out.
counterpart, to his opponent.
Mm.
So he's very sly and
Yeah.
very good at
Slick.
yeah, with words. He's very good at using his words well.
He's got a wit.
So and
Quickly.
he's also very good at turning
Quickly.
situations to his advantage, such as the horses. I don't know if he planned for that or not, but he
Situation
turned that
manipulation.
exactly to his own advantage, and now he is
Yeah.
controlling the situation completely. He even made the horses bolt remotely.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did that either.
I think Ollie did something to him when they were leaving the house.
I wouldn't be surprised. Probably he
yeah.
might have someone had.
That's so funny. He's just kind of sitting in the middle of the road, just like.
Yeah, he's waiting. I think he was actually sitting in the courtyard or something.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're done with that.
Yeah.
We're talking
On
a
to
little bit about Albert de Morcerf. Albert de Morcerf. Sorry. It's not very French.
That's how
of
I
me.
pronounce it. Yeah.
So Albert is very brave, as
Kind
evidenced
of.
by his sleeping in the lair of the bandits.
Either that, or he's just completely just like, unbeknownst to him, he's getting kidnapped, and he's like, "Oh, right, I'm getting kidnapped."
Yeah, so he's not.
It
concerned
seemed like
by
he
my-
was just like, "It's nap time. Go away. I'm sleeping. Let me be."
So yeah, he might
They
not
had
be
to wake
terribly
him up.
intelligent.
He
He
did
might
not
not be
know.
very smart in some ways.
Like,
But
I
he's
mean,
enthusiastic.
He even tells the story to his friends, and they're all like, "Yeah, right." Albert, so funny. How long were you sleeping that time? It's quite an interesting dream. Wonder where that
Yeah,
was.
so Albert is
Yeah.
maybe not very
He's not very
bright.
smart, but he knows how to make good connections because he seems to be pretty close with his friends. They were making jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
Laughing at each
Yeah,
other.
I don't know exactly how much of that was actually in good fun or they were actually making fun of each other.
I
don't know.
think they were genuinely making fun of him.
I don't know.
They're probably making fun of him.
They were doing that too. So yeah, he's
Point
enthusiastic, charming, and brave.
Okay.
So now Albert
Yeah.
and company together, they're pretty easy with each other. There's a lot of jibing and poking fun at each other. I just noticed that was kind of fun. I said that already. All right, so
Yeah.
we're going to do a little bit about Franz. So Franz is slightly suspicious and not very trustful of the Count. His past experiences, go back and watch the last episode to see about his past experiences, but
Yeah.
he makes it so he doesn't trust him.
Oh my God.
And he tells, to be true, he tells Albert about his experiences with the Count, but that doesn't make Albert's like,
Albert's just
whatever,
like,
cool.
Yeah, man. Whatever. I got kidnapped by some guy, I think. Maybe.
All right, so we're in
was a weird
Mercedes. So Mercedes, she seems to guess Monte Cristo's true identity, or she's like almost there. She's getting there,
I think it's like his voice or something. He sounded familiar.
or something. Yeah,
And she was like, "Do I know you? I think I know you."
yeah.
I might
So
know
she of all the people that the Count has met, this is the first one. She's the first one, which makes sense because she was his fiance.
Mhm.
That like, oh my goodness, that is Edmund Dantes.
Yeah, she's the first one who's like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah,
I wasn't kidding,
she's starting to place him. I feel like, and she might guess why he's
The
back.
gears are turning.
The gears are turning in her
Yeah,
head.
yeah.
To be sure,
She has an idea. She
has
hasn't
some ideas.
hooked
Yes.
it yet.
All right, so
Fishing.
Mr. and Mrs. Caderousse are both very greedy. Oh man, they're not very savory at all.
At all.
So, but Mr. Caderousse seems to have a bit more of a conscience than his wife,
Treasure.
even though he did end up killing the jeweler and
Yeah.
fleeing with the money. He was not the one who came up with the idea, as far as I can tell.
Well, it looks like she was.
Yeah,
had
she was the one who came up
nasty
with the idea.
of stab, stab.
Okay, and then my last note is on Danglars, and he is still just a low, mean snake.
He's just.
He's described with very unflattering imagery, as is his house. His house is like it's
Yeah,
said to be
what is
all
up with that?
gaudy and not in very bad taste.
Yeah, his wife. Most likely, I think the whole time I was reading the book, I was like, she is definitely having an affair with that other guy. Like, that's pretty awkward. They seemed way too close.
Yeah, she is.
she's a
She might be a
sus
little
little
bit.
thing.
She might
Yeah.
not be very faithful.
So, as to the street name, is why I knew that. It's evidently, I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, I know my sister would know this, but it's like Champs Elysees. It was like Avenue is what Champs means, and then
Oh, okay.
Elysee is like something about love or whatever.
okay.
So it was like the avenue of like love, or there's a song.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should look that up and give us some more information on it.
I will, yeah. And then the Count and their recognition. I just wrote down some notes. So
Okay, yeah,
scribbling down
sorry
as
you're
I
doing
speak. The sister-in-law, that was interesting. I think when, like, the Bertuccio, I think he took his sister-in-law as his wife. Like,
no.
well,
It didn't say that
kind
he
of.
did that. He might have. I don't know. But
Well,
he
'cause
didn't say that he did.
Because it had said that he
I don't know what Corsican
and
customs are.
his sister-in-law kind of took in the baby as their own. So it's like, I don't think he was married.
Well,
I think
he didn't say he was married, but I
Yeah.
don't know. It didn't say that
I
he
don't
was
think they
married to
got
his-
married. I think they just kind of
Oh, yeah, they
like,
worked
they
maybe as
got a
husband
little
and wife a little
closer
bit.
in their relationship. Like, maybe they were brother and sister, or like
Yeah, they're brother and sister.
did their best to be.
Oh yeah, no,
parents
he
to this
supported
kid
her. He was
as much.
that's one of the he
yeah.
was supporting her.
The Count's beliefs was another one that I had.
Well, the Count's beliefs are ridiculous.
That was a little awkward. Yeah, I mean, God does punish people to some extent, but like that's what Judgment Day is.
Yeah,
That's what the Judgment Day
we're
is.
not
He
we're
doesn't-
not
yeah.
we're not supposed to carry out judgment on other people.
I think that's kind of like the Calvinist outlook of everything happens for a reason. So if you fall down that stairwell, it's probably because you did something wrong or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
we're
thinking-
not a theological podcast,
Yeah.
so we won't.
I just
get
wonder
into
if that means that Alexander was giving a little bit of his beliefs, because some authors do that. They'll have a little sentence or a little conversation just to get in their beliefs. Like there's this one
I don't know.
guy, he wrote a book. He literally had a whole character in there just so he could put in his
Yeah,
beliefs
that happens
to
all the
that
time.
character.
Every book has a message, and I
Yeah.
feel like by the end of this book, like I've read this book before, so my opinion is that the message of this book is revenge backfires
all the time.
all the time.
Violence
Now,
is
I'm
never
not
the
sure
answer.
that is the meaning of the book, is what Alexander Dumas is putting in there,
I'm not sure
because we'll see what happens later on. I'm not sure about that, but we'll talk about that later. But for now, we're done with episode 6.
Heartbreaking about my team not being there anymore.
Man, every time. Every time.
Drink slower.
Okay. All right, so
well,
that's about all we have.
That's episode 6 for you.
That's episode 6.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, and come back next time.
Yeah. Make sure to comment and do the polls or whatever.
Yeah.
Share it with a friend.
Yep. Keep up with us. We'll be putting new stuff out.
All right. See you next week.
Yep.